Which celebrity did you meet and found they were much kinder / ruder than you expected? Bobby Flay is a complete douche. Did you wait to write this for 10 ducking years? I was about 8 when I stumbled across Stephen King. He was in a rush getting out of a limo into a building. So I quick shouted, "Mr. King, I love Cujo." He gave me a bemused smile and said, "Who the hell let this kid read Cujo? Exclamation mark. Apostrophe. Oh damn, King is one of the guys I want to meet. Like at a shop or something. Just to hear him say some offhand comment. Absolutely love the guy. Big fan." I worked with Mads Mikkelsen. He is the nicest person you will ever meet. Zero ego. Just a pleasure to work with. Oh my god. I just finished Hannibal and I'm so mad at myself for being so charmed by that man. Saw Ryan Gosling at my brother's graduation. His mom was graduating with a master's degree from same school. Ryan sat in front of me. He clapped for every kid who got on stage to get their diploma. I was so tired from such a long ceremony that I almost didn't even clap for my brother. Nick Offerman is a gem of a human being. He came to my small college in an Illinois suburb for a book tour thing, and I was in an a cappella group at the time and we were rehearsing in the building where he was doing the signing, and he accidentally walked in on us and ended up staying to listen to a song. Complimented us, hung out for 5 minutes, and signed stuff for all of us. Super genuine. Funny guy. He was on tour in my city and we happened to get a pre-show drink at the bar of the hotel he was staying at. The bartender told us that he's super nice and that he ordered a salad to his room and then later came down and ate only bacon and eggs in public. A few years ago, Tenacious D played a concert in Kuala Lumpur. The building the concert was in was pretty small, and there's no way they made a lot of money from the show. Despite that, after the show was over, Jack Black came back out on the stage and just chatted and joked around with people for like an hour. My buddy yelled out, "I love your shirt." Jack Black yelled back, "I love your shirt. Trade me." Then he took off his shirt and threw it to my buddy, who threw his shirt to Jack Black. Jack Black threw my friend's shirt back after pretending to try it on. My friend is much thinner than Black. Haha. And then told him to keep his shirt from the concert. It was a great experience. Edit. Off. Can confirm. Jack Black is an awesome guy. My ex-sister-in-law is his personal assistant. When she broke up with her boyfriend, they let her live with them until she found an apt. My ex and I helped move her furniture into their basement and stayed at their house a night, and he was so nice and welcoming and was genuinely interested in where we are from, the Midwest, and our lives. Brad Pitt is a top-notch guy in real life. I met him in Malta while he was filming Troy. I was guiding a group of students as a group leader on a holiday trip and we saw Pitt just walking out of a cafe. He took time to take lots of pictures with all the kids and was really nice to everyone. Among my group were a bunch of teenage girls who almost fainted. Hilarious day all around. I haven't met him, but my former roommate knows him. They were filming something at her house and Brad did the dishes after lunch. I'd always just assumed celebrities were a bunch of narcissists, but she said he was really down to earth and nice. I met Penn and Teller in New York City when they did some New York City shows one year. They had a meet and greet, and I got to meet both of them. I was kinda starstruck because I was a big fan, but they were super cool about it, and it was really weird for Teller to talk to me. Also, Teller isn't short. Penn is just ducking huge. Also, Teller isn't short. Penn is just ducking huge. That surprised me when I saw them after a show. My brother and I, about 11 and 13Y/0 at the time, got pictures with them. Penn had to get down on one knee and hunch forward just to not be towering over us. Was at the Blue Lagoon in Iceland and someone floated by me that I recognized but couldn't put a name to it. I kept stealing glances at him to try and figure out who he was. When I finally figured out it was Ryan Gosling, he must have seen the realization on my face, because he smiled at me, winked, and put his finger over his lips in a SHHHH gesture. I think no one else had recognized him. He had a full beard. Left him alone. As you do. But I'll always remember that wink. I'd give anything to be winked at by Ryan Gosling. I'm a straight man, and I'd do anything to be winked at by Ryan Gosling too. Mr. T. When I was in high school, early 1990s, my friends and I worked at a golf course that was across the street from Mr. T's house. During lunch, my friends and I would walk 5 minutes to the downtown area for lunch. One day while we are walking to lunch, Mr. T was pulling into his gated driveway. We said, "Hey Mr. T," and waved at him. He asked us what we were doing, and after finding out we were going to lunch, he invited us to have lunch with him, since that is what he was doing. We are sitting on his patio eating grilled chicken with Mr. T telling stories about growing up poor and working really hard to earn what he had. He talked a lot about family and its importance to him. It was pretty surreal. Mr. T was just the persona. He was actually a very funny, down-to-earth and truthfully empathetic guy. Every day after that, whenever we would see Mr. T, he would always say hi and take a few minutes to chat. And everything was always so positive. I always greatly respected him after that day. Brent Hines from Mastodon was the biggest asshole I've ever met back in 2009. Met him again in 2012, and he invited me to join him for drinks at a local bar, where we talked for hours, and he turned out to be the coolest famous person I've ever met. Turns out, sometimes people just have a bad day. Not really kind or rude, but I was in line for Ron Perelman's autograph, and I heard him tell his staff at least 3 times that he had to pee. They kept encouraging him to keep signing and getting the fans out of the venue, and he just kept on until the distress on his face was visible. He finally just said "duck it" and started walking to the bathroom. I just happened to be in his way, and one of his handlers tried to get him to come back when he just snapped and said loudly, "I have to piss," simultaneously pulling away from his handlers and shoving me out of the way. I got hit by Hellboy, not even mad. Haven't had many rude experiences, but I can definitely attest that Michael Fassbender was a kind man who acted more excited to meet me than I was to meet him. Very satisfied by that experience. Him from the same place in Ireland as he is. We're all nice and carry. Second story, a friend worked at the Reagan Library and Adam Sandler visited with his kids. She said he was really friendly and super accommodating with fans. He only asked they not bother or photograph his kids, which is totally fair. I've met him a number of times at work. He's super friendly and down to earth. Our whole staff is just stoked every time he walks in the building, and he's super nice to fans who approach him. I can't say enough positive things about the guy. I just wish I could acknowledge to him that I've been a huge fan since I was a little kid. Kinda Hugh Jackman. He's known for being nice, but I didn't expect him to be so genuine and actually keep the conversation going, and to keep asking questions and showing interest. It must be exhausting considering how many people he meets every day, yet he is always on. Ruder, Will Ferrell. He's known for being rude and mean, and I thought maybe it was exaggerated as people might expect him to be nice and funny and are disappointed when he's not. He was okay to me as in he didn't talk any shit, but I saw him being a complete and utter prick to others. A friend of a friend is a baseball coach at a private school in LA. His team played the school that Will Ferrell's kids go to, and I guess Will Ferrell was at the game. Apparently Ferrell was just weird. He wasn't rude. He wasn't a jerk. But he was doing all sorts of eccentric stuff to draw attention to himself. It's your kid's baseball game. Why does this have to be about you? Drawing attention to yourself and then being annoyed when people recognize you is the worst. I had no idea he was like this. I often fall into the trap of thinking nice roles means nice person. Kristen Bell, one of the most sweetest, down-to-earth people you'll ever meet. I worked at a high-end hotel spa and she came in on one of our most busiest weekends and was so patient. Most celebrities I encountered booked with aliases and through an assistant. She just called in on her own and booked as any other person would. This seems like the bare minimum. But I've had some super needy celebrity guests. She is also an extremely generous tipper. She is the exact person that she appears in TV interviews. I love hearing that about her. She is a good actress and it's awesome knowing she's a good person to equals. She really does deserve to get in the good place. David Beckham, not just a nice guy, but when his kids came to the secret event we were filming, and some people spotted them, He came across and told the public who could see him that he'd do any photos or signings they liked, but to please leave his kids alone as they were not in the public eye and he wanted them to be afforded privacy. Good dad. Jamie Lee Curtis. We chatted about cameras for ages before I realized who she was. After we finished chatting, she had a very nice Leica. Skater Kristin Alenko was an absolute diamond. Playing with someone's kids on set between rehearsals, I fell a little bit in love watching her. Eartha Kitt. Despite being mid-80s, she was doing 2 shows a day and would still use the show interval for a fan meet and greet. Then her rider was a salmon salad sandwich. A true star with true humility. I won't go on about the dickheads. They tend to be mid-famous on the way up. The bottom rung are just so happy to be entertaining. The top rung have nothing to prove. I was in room service for many years. The best was when Snoop Dogg rented out the entire floor. It was the smoking floor, but it wasn't long until the whole hotel smelled like it. His whole floor ordered a lot of room service, tipped well and left behind a little something. Don Magic Jewin was there too, handing out backstage passes to staff. Best work weekend ever. I broke a room service guy's heart one time. I share the same relatively uncommon last name as a pro athlete, and I was in the hotel at the same time as a major sporting event, though a different sport. When I looked through the peephole of the door, I see a dude with my dinner grinning like a giddy kid. When I opened the door, his face absolutely fell. He looked totally dejected. He was very polite, and we made a little small talk and he admitted he was really hoping I was the athlete. I was expecting a very tall black man. I'm a shortish white woman. We had a good laugh about it. Alexander Skarsgård is very nice and patient. I met him while he was in town filming a scene for Hold the Dark. He told me about the project and what scenes they were filming here. I would be a blubbering idiot if I met him. He is gorgeous. Met Mark Hamill at a comic book store in Maryland back in '96. What a kind and friendly guy. He's actually #1 on celebrities I'd like to meet. Heard he's a great guy. Weird Al. We got to do a meet and greet with him after a long show, and this guy works his ass off in his shows, multiple costume changes, and never stops moving. He was exhausted, but took the time to chat with me about places to buy the kind of zoot suit he wore on stage. I told him about a place in Seattle, and he told me about a place in St. Louis. Super nice even though he was so obviously worn out. I don't think I've ever heard a bad story about Weird Al. Weird Al flipped me and some friends off after a show in Milwaukee. We nearly 20 years ago. Right as he was getting into a limo that took off. We were all pretty happy with the transaction. To be honest, we didn't expect him to acknowledge us at all. Pretty sure he was smiling as he did it. But we were separated by a chain link fence, and it was nighttime. Definition flipped us the bird though. I met Liam Hemsworth at a supermarket in a small coastal town in Australia earlier this year. I almost didn't even notice it was him as he fit in seamlessly, being the down-to-earth, laid-back Aussie guy he is. He was super nice and genuine and even made an effort to thank the employees and the store security on his way out. He yelled at me for running out of his favorite tequila. He was pretty drunk, but whatever. Millie apologized and was super nice and down to earth. So was her sister Noah. Never come between an Aussie and his favorite alcohol, my friend. Robin Williams was shooting a film in my city. He stopped by the nearest senior home just to say hello and take pictures with the residents. No other reason than to brighten up their day. Class act of man. My grandma was a resident. I met Gordon Ramsay once at a book signing event. I was just walking around the area and ran into him on his free time. He was actually so nice and down to earth. Talked about food for a few minutes and how he's liking his trip so far. Super nice guy and nothing like you see on his cooking shows. I always figured Stephen Amell from Arrow would be a chill dude, but I did not expect him to remember me from a Facebook interaction we had months prior to meeting. He's such a nice guy. A buddy of mine met Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller twice each, and they both gleefully shouted his name the second time. Met Jason Momoa at a con a few years back, when I only knew him from Game of Thrones. His positive energy and sense of humor is very disarming despite him being so big and imposing. A guy I went to high school with is a ridiculously good bass player and posts videos online. Jason Momoa ended up contacting him asking for bass lessons, which they did online for a bit and got friendly. Then he was doing a movie in our area, and they hung out a lot, and made some videos of them together. I met Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, several times. He was exactly as nice and kind and wonderful as you'd think he was. From my understanding, none of what he did was acting. It was just him being him, for the goodness of it. I can't imagine him being anything other than nice, unless it was a bad day, then maybe less nice at best. Lol. I mean, I expected Matthew McConaughey to be nice, but he was just so thoughtful and engaging. Truly a great experience meeting him. Agreed. I've heard he used to be an a-hole and Austinites didn't really like him, but that was years ago, and has really mellowed out. I've worked with him a couple times and has very kind, and gives back to his community a ton. The Rock was nicer than I'd heard he was. Super chill, kind, and even signed a couple of autographs for me to give my sisters. Michael Sheen. He does a lot of charity work for our shared hometown. I had no idea just how well known he was as a kid. Years ago he spent a night bowling with our youth club. It's been a decade, and I'm still blown away by how caring and genuine he was. He's always doing something wonderful for the people in South Wales, and every time I hear about what he's up to I still can't believe my luck that I met him. He's the best of the Welsh. Hey PSSST. Please subscribe and like.